You're speaking with the 3-time world meetup game champion, aka Deuce Nukem, aka Wes's dad, aka Salami Mommy. And let me tell you,
We're gonna keep that. Welcome back to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast, people. Today we have a few things to get into. The first one, Max, unfortunately, has more to do with you than it does me. Why don't you tell everyone what happened?
well, before I do that, Wes, I just want to say for the people who are seeing the video version of this, you look like you got like a Freddy Krueger thing going on today.
Cool.
The colors don't match though. You smell ripe too.
What do you mean ripe? Like I just got out of the shower?
No, like you haven't showered for a week.
Oh, that's too bad.
Just kidding. So what Wes was referring to earlier, I am now a 3-time world meetup game Suited Kings champion.
Yeah.
I just had to add world in there because it made it sound cooler, but
yeah, well, it is cool. We've had, I think, 6 meetup games, but only 4 tournaments have
we've
run.
had 4 tournaments so far.
And you've won 3 of them, which is rather
How many
disgusting.
have you won?
Shut the hell up.
Oh, okay. I'll take that as 0. Is that right?
0. Yeah. So you scooped another one last night. I mean, in the ring game, we were just kind of gambling.
Man,
honestly.
That was one of the funnest meetup games we've ever had so far. Out of the 6 we've had, that was by far my favorite. So it all started off. Wes and I got in there a few minutes early to start the games off. We were in the ring game, which is a cash game, for those who aren't familiar. And the very first hand, we get dealt, and Wes types in chat and he goes, "Hey, I'll be right back." So I open jammed 100 bigs with 3-4 suited.
It was offsuit.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
trying to spice it up.
I made the call with Queen 7 of clubs, and I held up.
He snap called my all in with Queen 7 of clubs and sat out and won. But didn't end there. So we continued to keep the cash game going while the tournament started. And we were just having fun. It was just a clicking fest pretty much. I 3-bet almost every single hand I could. I mean, I slowed down here and there, but I was min 3-bet clicking every hand.
Either min 3-bet or max 3-bet.
Yeah, it was. So if Wes made it 2, I'd make it 3 or 100 big blinds,
or 832 or however many you would.
Well, long story short, I ran 100 bigs up to about 900 bigs.
Yeah, then back down to like 550,
and then I doubled Wes up and another listener up a couple times, and went down to 500, and then won the meetup game. So it was a good night.
Then you sat out though, because I had 400 bigs. Then you were scared.
I did get a little scared.
You didn't want to go all in. You didn't want to have an 800 big blind pot with Jack 4 offsuit.
Man, against you, just to scoop all that back would have been glorious. Plump the chicken before you slaughter it. You know what I'm saying?
I actually used that I can't remember, but I used that recently, and it was inspired by you.
Thank you. I mean, why not, right? So today we're actually going to be talking about mindset leaks, or how do we want to describe this?
Yeah, mindset traps. We're going to
mindset traps. Yeah.
We're going to talk about a bunch of different things that can kind of hold you back that really aren't strategy related. They're more just like either related to gameplay or to your mindset or to how you manage your time, your mental game, all sorts of stuff like that. And this can be targeted towards, whether you're aspiring to be a professional or you're just trying to become a winning player. Like, I think anyone who's just trying to become better at poker can relate to these things. And even,
yeah. It's been a while since we've done a mindset type episode. And these are the episodes I really like because they're often overlooked. A lot of these things we're going to go over today are so crucial to being successful in poker. And everybody thinks it all has to be studying strategy, but it's not, right? There's the whole mindset aspect. So,
yeah. And I think, the last thing about it is there are some of these things can be things that people do on purpose because they think they're good strategy in way, or they feel like it's the smart thing when in reality it's sort of can be the opposite.
Yeah.
And you'll kind of see what we mean in certain examples here. But
Before we get into that, should we go over a couple things?
yeah, let's
All right,
go over a
we
couple
won't
things.
tangent too hard here, but let's talk a little bit more about how I was the three-time meetup
Oh
game.
my god. Well, we should mention the next meetup game will be Tuesday, November 12th.
Tuesday, November 12th, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Please, guys, we want to make our next meetup game a big one. It's been super fun. I want someone to come dethrone me. We're gonna put a $50 bounty on Wes's head. On top of the $50 bounty on Wes's head, we're going to give you that meetup game champion Discord tag. So you'll shine bright in there if you're
Yeah.
a Discord frequenter.
Yeah, so the $50 bounty is for knocking me out of the tournament.
Yep, just one
And
time, because I know you're
should we
good for multiple bullets.
Yeah. Well, that's true, that's true. And so the other thing too is I know for one of them we were able to award a tournament entry, and we'll talk to our people at Clubs Poker, but hopefully
I'd be
what
awesome if we could, let's just tell them that they have to give us those seats every week to give away.
yeah, I mean,
They can afford it.
I hope so,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's just so we wanna make sure we get as much, for you guys as well for, coming and participating with us and playing with us. We love splashing around, and so I don't know how. I mean, I've been just a lockbox in those meetup games, not super using, so
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, so next
get in there, let's dethrone this guy. This is
So
getting ridiculous.
so 2 weeks from around 2 weeks from the time you're listening to this, we'll have that next meeting. You said it was the 12th?
Yep.
12th of November, 7:30 PM Central Time. There's a password for the tournament, so we'll release those on all socials, the day of the tournament, so on our Twitter and our Discord, all that good stuff. I'll post the password to play in the tournament. Get in there, let's make it a big one. Get that bounty on Wes's head. So looking forward to that. Next up, it's been, we've had a couple of interviews the past couple of weeks, so we haven't done
Mhm.
too much promotion, but we have our Discord channel that has now grown to well over 200 members. It's been an absolutely incredibly fun and knowledgeable place to hang out and chat with other poker players who are like-minded, who want to get better and make piles of cash. So if you haven't already, make sure to join our Discord. I'll have a link for that in the description of this episode. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. Just look at the description. If you're not already in Discord, click on that link and get in there. Secondly, and I almost forgot about this going back to Clubs Poker, I'll have our affiliate link for Clubs Poker also in the description. Make sure to click that link when you sign up for Clubs Poker. That supports our podcast directly, and we very much appreciate it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, one more thing, I don't think we ever went over did we go over the FPC main
yeah.
event predictions? So
So if you listen to a couple episodes ago, and this will be a yearly thing for us, we talk about our FPC predictions. For those who aren't familiar with FPC, it's the Fall Poker Classic at Canterbury here in Minnesota.
mhm.
That wrapped up about a week and a half ago, something like that.
Yep.
What a great and fun series that was. Wes, I think, how many events did you play?
Just 2, I was, yeah, we're in Michigan for the first weekend.
That's right.
So,
So the first week we missed all of those events because we were at Firekeepers for MSPT.
yeah, so I played 2 events. I only a total of 3 buy-ins and 2 cashes, so it was pretty good. We both got in there for the 400 on day 1B, and I bagged on 1 bullet. Pretty good pretty good run. I
Are you talking
eventually
about the monster stack?
Yeah, the $400 monster stack.
Okay, yep. It took me 3 bullets, but I found the bag as well.
Yeah, and you ended up getting 4th place.
Yeah, so, yeah, not bad. Out of 600 and some entries, I got 4th place or was it 400 some entries?
I think 400 some,
Something like that.
but it was a
Anyways,
big field.
yeah, I got 4th place for just over, almost 11K, I think, like 10.9,
Yeah.
something around there. So that was good, and then I immediately went and blasted off in the $2,500 high roller.
Oh, that's right. I didn't play that
That
one.
was actually a really fun tournament. Started off a little bit hot in that, but just kind of fizzled out. So ended up busting that and then played the main event. So those were the only 3 events I played. Unfortunately, I didn't make day 2 of the main because I could only play the first starting flight of that.
Mhm.
Had obligations the other
You
starting
ran
flight.
bad that day too, I
Man,
remember.
that was crazy. Yeah, I almost folded second set to top set to Carney just because I know he's such a nit that he wouldn't have had that. He wouldn't have.
That's not the first time we've Just fired a shot at him at this spot.
It's just so funny because I 3 bet, he cold 4 bet. Uh, and I'm like, "You have 8," and then the original razor folds comes back to me and is like, I was like, "I know you have aces, and I'm sorry in advance." So I gave him the speech ahead of time. The flop comes like 2, 5, 6, something like that. I check, he bets quarter pot, I call, turn is an 8. I had pocket eights, by the way. Turn's an 8, so I turn top set. I check, and I'm like, "Oh, man, you're in big trouble." I kept giving him the speech, and this mother trucker checks back his aces. I was kinda bummed about that. But then I was like,
He
"Oh."
probably got a read on the fact that you literally told him
I
he
know.
was
I
in
was like, "I
trouble.
know you got aces." Well, guess what the river was?
Ace.
An ace. I check again, or no, I bet 10K until I think I it was like a pot-sized bet, and I
And
had
he
like
shoves.
16K total. So he shoves, and I'm like, "He would just never do this with ace king."
Yeah.
So I just know he has aces,
Yeah,
but
you haven't told me that hand history yet, but I get how you kind of it's like he has to have aces, but also that's the only hand I'm losing to, but
exactly. So I didn't know. Yeah. So, anyways, I yeah, I knew he had aces, and I paid the man off. I hate that.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, I had a different so you ended up in 3 bullets for that one, I
Yep,
think,
yep,
right?
yep, exactly. So, and then, yeah, how did you do? You made day two.
Yeah, so well, my first bullet, I got there level 1. Um, I made it to level 15, and then you busted me. I had lot I had
I love
y
busting you out of
I
live
know.
tournaments,
Yeah.
man.
So, yeah, it was really a slow kind of I was below starting stack for a lot of the day. Eventually, I got up to 43K, 30K was starting stack. I got up to 43K, like 9 levels in. Finally, after registration, I was over 100. And then the first 5 hands I opened after break, I got 3 bet and I folded. I think 3 of them were all in, 2 were not. But yeah, I was just having like medium strength
That
hands.
was an extremely tough table that we had.
We did have a really tough table. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, so eventually
We had Leo, who was one of my FPC picks. We had
we had
Richie, which was
Richie
one of
was,
your FPC picks. We won't spoil quite yet, but the result of that. But
yeah. And yeah, eventually you busted me. So then at that point, I got home at like 2 in the morning, I think.
I was not far behind you.
You weren't, unfortunately. And then the next day it started at 1 and I wanted to give myself,
It
you know,
started at Juan.
1,
Juan.
1.
Juan. Juan. It started at
Yes.
Juan.
Um, is that how it sounded? It
It
sounded
is.
that way. Started at 1. One,
On. Okay, anyways.
one.
Started at 1. You
So
had 360K or something?
yeah, yeah. So I came in later that day. I think I registered level
Oh, I got
7.
ahead of myself, I see.
Yeah, I ran super hot for 2 levels. It's up to 100K. Got back down to close to 40K around the 3K big blind, and then later in the night I went on another pretty good heater. I bagged 370 or
The
3
pile of chips. Yeah.
yeah.
You come back to what? 8K bigs or 8K big, 6K big?
Yeah, just the end of the 6K level
Okay. So
to
you
go
had
a little
well
bit.
over 50 bigs
Yeah, I mean, it was basically 8K,
as you're
yeah.
going into 8K.
So I had
Okay.
about 50
So,
bigs,
yeah.
and I actually, I won a bunch of small pots and then won a couple big pots, and I was at 900K, almost
Yeah,
a
I thought
million.
all of a sudden I was like, man, because a reminder to our listeners, you got second in this tournament to our good friend Ian Matakis last year, and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh man, he's about to just he's
I
gonna
thought it was
improve on that. I thought
yeah.
you were going to for sure, and then all like an hour later, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, it happened quickly, and,
You lost a
there's
big one to Koo, who was also on our a podcast.
yep. Then I lost a standard flip, and then I actually got it in way ahead against Koo, and
Is it like
he
Ace
got
Jack and King Jack or something?
yeah, and he
Yeah.
spiked a king,
Yep.
and the other one was
You got to run good as well as play good.
yeah.
So
So I was just out in like 33rd.
it's a great run. Nice,
Thank you.
nice run again. Should we talk about who we picked for FPC and then say the result of it?
Yeah, and as I've been talking about this, I realized that there are a couple really interesting hands that we should review in a later episode.
I'm down for that for sure. We'll do it in one of our study sessions. We can do that.
Perfect.
I also want to say, and spoiler alert, the last 2 years we've picked 3 people each,
Hmm.
and you've picked the outright winner of the tournament both times.
I have.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah.
That's actually insane. So my picks were Jason Hoffman,
Yep.
Leo Pinamonti. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And then Mr. Rob was.
Robbie, he wasn't even on day 2. That's pretty rare.
That is very rare to have a was not in day 2. That was specifically.
Mhm.
And then you had Mr. Richie Elsip,
I had Aaron Johnson, and
Aaron
then
Johnson,
Arlo.
Arlo,
Still forgot how to say
Arlo
his
S.
Arlo S.
There you go. Another local young grinder.
Yeah. So we each this year we each had one make day 2. You had
Yep.
Leo, I had Richie. Richie had a ton of chips,
Yep.
and I didn't play with him at all day 2, so I don't know any details, but he not only final tabled, which means I won the bet, but
He won the whole
he
damn
won the whole
tournament.
tournament.
And that's super awesome. I do want to give a huge shout out to Rich because he's a good friend of ours. We also obviously have had him on the podcast, done an interview with him. Just an incredible poker player who's had consistent, incredible results over all the years. Just an absolute crusher.
Yeah.
Definitely someone I've looked up to over the past. So glad to see him ship the Fall Poker Classic and get that banner in Canterbury. That's something that
Yeah.
everybody in Minnesota wants is that Fall Poker Classic main event banner. Wes was very close.
I was very close,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
I
So
can just see the disappointment on your face.
and it's funny. Last year I didn't even feel the disappointment because it's like I had such a huge score, but yeah, they're
It's just
seeing the banner up there. It's like
it was cool to
that would
see
be
Ian
cool.
up there. Ian got, the banner at FPC and at the World Series of Poker in the same year.
That's pretty cool.
Hard to do. So
Probably the only person who will ever do that.
yeah, I would probably agree with that. So without further ado, Wes, we
Yeah,
got some
let's get into
content to
it.
get into. You want to go ahead and start us off with the first mindset trap topic?
Yeah. So one of the big mindset traps that is easy to get into when you're specifically a tournament poker player is kind of overvaluing your tournament life early in a tournament. I've heard people say stuff like, let's say they're facing an all-in bet. They kind of hem and haw and then they decide to fold and they look at their opponent like, you're lucky I didn't have more chips. I would have called you if I had a bigger stack. And it's like that actually really shouldn't matter much early in a tournament. Obviously, ICM, Ryan LaPlante, when he was on our podcast, he talked about how ICM starts from the first hand of the tournament. So technically, in some minuscule way, your stack size does matter. But like for all intents and purposes, when you're early or even the middle of the tournament, like you should really just be trying to accumulate chips and it shouldn't really matter how many you have right now.
So what is the correct mindset we should have here? Instead of thinking, oh, if I had more chips, I would call. What should this person be thinking in a scenario like that?
You should be thinking about what is going to, if you were in this situation 1,000 times, what would lead you to have the highest amount of chips on average? So like if you fold to the all in, you will be you'll always have the amount of chips that you have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you make the call, sometimes you will have 0 chips at the end of the hand. Sometimes you will have a lot of chips.
But if
And
that
will you win enough to make it so that the average of
is
that?
higher than what you currently are at over the long run.
Yes. So it's, you don't have to like
And let's also mention that sometimes folding is the right play.
absolutely. And we'll kind of get into the flip side of this too, because there's kind of a mindset trap on both ends of this
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But
And also, 'cause you also mentioned at the beginning of tournaments, I think this applies throughout the entirety of the tournament.
it does. Um there are certain times when your preservation of your stack matters a little more, but if you're going to lean one way or the other, you should definitely lean to there she is.
Yeah.
There's if you're not watching the video version, Max's cat just kind of walked
Juno
across
always
the
has to
desk.
make an appearance here. So
Yeah.
continue.
So yeah, there are certain times when your tournament life will matter a little bit more, but overall, you should just be trying to accumulate chips
Okay.
as much as possible. Like do it in a manner that is as close to a cash game as possible. And
Explain what you mean by that.
yeah, so in a cash game, you're not, let's say in a cash game you have $500 and your opponent has $500. The hand is going to play the same as if you had $500 and your opponent had 5,000, right?
Yeah.
You're still only playing for the
500.
500.
Right. The effective
And
stack. Yeah.
yeah, and you're trying to do it, you're trying to make money in the long run and you can always rebuy, but even if you couldn't, it doesn't really change what
So
your strategy
ultimately,
should
the
be.
point is to not worry about the point you're trying to get past is to not worry about busting, but to worry about making the most profitable decision, even if that potentially means you're out of the tournament at that point.
Correct.
Um, I like that. Yeah, I mean, this is things that I think this is probably one of the biggest barriers from being, I don't want to say bad, but like an amateur player to a really good player. Like the really good players you wonder why. I mean, and this goes for some and not for others, but you wonder why some of them are in for a ton of bullets. It's because they're not afraid to take those spots.
Mhm.
And I understand a lot of you and a lot of us, I mean, myself included, don't have massive bankrolls to where we can do that.
Yep.
But that sorry about all the S in there, the syllabants. Um, that still shouldn't stop you, right? It's you just move on to the next tournament when you can play. Like, don't let that's the mindset trap.
Yes, it is, and, the last point on that is, like, if you do feel like you don't have a big bankroll for the game you're playing in, that's another that should be a sign too, like, if you are trying to play profitably, like, you should be in a place where that's not gonna affect your tournament. Whether it's even if you're not an actual professional, if you have a job, but, you want poker to be a side income, you don't need to have a full, like, bankroll for the game you're in, but you should still be in a place where the money is not going to get into your head.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something else we'll discuss more as well.
Yeah.
I think that was a great one. What will be do you have something further you wanna talk on that one?
Well, just the flip side of it too.
Okay.
The second mindset trap is, sort of undervaluing your tournament life. And I've noticed this happens especially well, this can happen in a lot of
I
ways.
see this
I should
happen a
say.
lot.
Yeah. And I think one of the times it can happen the easiest is, let's say we're talking about how you start with 30K in chips in the FPC main.
Yep.
Let's say you play a little bit, you're up to 36K, and then by level 4, you're down to 18K. And one of the, sort of mindset traps you can get into is thinking or maybe not thinking, but you're feeling like you need to get that stack back up to at least starting or to above where your high point
I
is.
cannot tell you how many times I've sat at a table and I just see people melting, just like emotionally, physically. Like they might not even be saying something, but you can just see them stressing. Like you can feel the tension or the energy from them just because they went from 100 big blinds down to 82 big blinds just because they're under starting stack because they feel like that starting stack is a threshold that they need to stay above. When in fact you don't even ever think about the starting stack. You think about how many big blind when you're in that moment, you think about how many big blinds you have in that moment and what's the best decision to make in that moment, putting away that arbitrary thought of
Mhm.
what the starting stack is. That matters nothing. I'm guilty of this when I was an amateur as well. Like when I first started playing, like got to run it back up, be a little more aggressive, get it back over starting stack. That's undervaluing your tournament life. You're making worse decisions, and ultimately, you're going to lose money in the long run doing that.
Yeah, perfectly said. I've seen countless examples of people just shoveling in like 40 or 50 big blinds with, you know, 9-7 suited here.
Yeah, compounding it turns into compounding mistakes.
Yeah, and it's sort of like I think, obviously some people are just not they don't know poker as well, but I think a lot of times when people do this, it's not that they think it's good to get in that many blinds with a hand like that. And I think if they were able to zoom out on a moment where they piled in that many big blinds with that sort of a hand, they would be like, "Oh, that was a really bad play." But in the moment, it just feels like, "Well, I gotta I gotta gamble. I gotta catch up." It's like you're trying to catch up.
As we've discussed, they're not using their brain, they're using their emotions.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, don't allow emotions to dictate your decisions at the poker table. You'll always end up in a bad spot.
Yep.
Even if you get lucky, you'll probably compound those and then go right back to where you were.
Well, and that's the thing too is you will get lucky sometimes, so you can kind of almost trick yourself into thinking that
That it
that
makes it
it
okay.
justifies
Yeah,
doing it.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
What can we talk about next? What's the next mindset trap?
Yeah. So this one is, if you're a little bit farther into the tournament, um, suddenly starting to tighten up when registration closes, or, on the flip side, playing loosely because you can still buy back in.
Okay.
So placing a value on when late reg closes. Um, and I've actually seen very good players do this, or heard them even talk about it. And it's fine if you kind of view it that way. Like I do understand, you and I traveled out to Michigan, and we're there for this one tournament. We're trying to make a deep run on day 2. So it's like obviously you want to get to day 2. So you need to get through day 1, obviously. So I can get how you could play a little differently based on whether or not you can buy back in and have another chance. But from a profitability standpoint, a buy-in is a buy-in.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and your tournament life is what it is, whether or not you can buy back into the tournament, because ultimately you can always buy into another tournament, whether
Mhm.
it's right now or in a couple days, right?
Right, right, right.
And so, playing more loosely because you can buy back in isn't maximizing your profitability, just as like tightening up too much because you can't rebuy is also going to hurt you. And actually, I would go so far as to say the best way to take advantage or to look at this is to actually take advantage of the fact that, other people are going to do this.
Yep.
So if it's before registration closes, like maybe that's when you need to be more patient and wait for value hands, at least against the sort of players that are going to be gambling a little bit more.
I think Ari kind of emphasized that a lot, didn't he?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard like Jonathan Little talk about this, if you guys are familiar with his content,
I feel
but
like a lot of people are. He has a pretty big outreach. Yeah.
yeah. So, and then but then also it's like suddenly people will just sort of tense up, and I'm not talking about everyone, but people will not want to bust after registration closes, and
Right. They're
that's
afraid. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, they're afraid to because they're not looking as it as all the tournament. How do I even word this or articulate this well? Yeah, they're afraid to bust that because the registration's over and they don't think of it as, well, I have more opportunities. Like they think of it as that's the last opportunity, but you have to look at it as a large kind of
a
sample
large
size.
sample, yeah.
Not well articulated, but I hope you caught my drift.
Yeah, well, and I think the biggest thing to take away from these first few examples is like always be looking at poker like, how would I want myself to play? If I were in this situation 1,000 times, how would I have wanted myself to play each and every one of those
That does
times?
seem to reflect over all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, because like if you have 1,000 buy-ins, you're going to be kind of annoyed if you just blasted off 50 of them because you were below starting stack. And if you had 1,000 buy-ins, you'll be glad that you took some risks to build a big stack, even if you busted a few more times after registration closed and you couldn't rebuy. Like you'll be glad that you really accumulated a stack those other times, because the times that you go on to win or finish top 3 in a tournament is usually going to stem from times like that where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
where you're a little more aggressive then. Yeah.
All right.
Anything more to say on that one?
Nothing left to say on that. Let's take a quick break and then get on to the next one.
Okay.
Hey guys, Max Havlish here. Are you ready to go all in on finding your dream home? With the Havlish Home Team, you're holding a royal flush in real estate expertise. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, we'll deal you the best hand with top-notch service and unbeatable market insights. Don't gamble with your future. Play it smart and let the Havlish Home Team turn your real estate dreams into a winning hand. Contact us today and let's stack the deck in your favor. Please email me at maxhavlish@gmail.com. Your referrals are much appreciated. All right, so we are back from that very short break. We have some more mindset traps to go ahead and go over here. I love talking about this stuff. It's not just that in the trenches, dirty, dark, theory driven, you know,
Not all that
gameplay.
nerd
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. Enough of the nerd bullshit. Let's talk about like the attitude and the mental aspect
Yeah.
of things.
Well, and I like it too because I think everyone can relate to it. kind of no matter how seriously you take poker, you've probably at least felt
Yeah.
this
And
stuff to an
honestly, a lot
extent.
of these lessons are lessons that you apply to everything in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Like patience or looking at
yeah.
things in, from a more zoomed out view.
Yeah, don't undervalue your actual life.
Yeah. But also don't overvalue
Yeah,
it.
but don't overvalue it. I like where this is going.
Uh,
That's good. Yeah,
alright.
what's next on the list?
So this is one that you actually just brought up right before we started, and I thought it was good. Assuming
I have good ideas occasionally.
you do. So you don't want to assume too quickly that your opponent has a certain play style. I think this is especially common if you don't play online as much.
I'm guilty of this big time.
Yeah, that's fair. And like I think even though I think I'm less guilty than most people, I know I'm guilty of it too.
Well, I mean, as poker players, our goal is to pay attention to our opponents and pick up what they're doing and then make decisions based on what we think they're doing. And if I sit down and people are firing right out of the gate, I immediately start making judgments based on that. And then I start adapting my play style to that. But however, there can be an issue with that is that there's not a large enough sample size
Yeah.
for us to really figure out if that's truly if they're overplaying hands or being overly aggressive, or if they've just had a slew of good hands in a row, which could be. So I guess the point of this is to not if you're sitting down at a cash game or a tournament and you notice someone either being really tight right away or really aggressive right away over, a couple orbits of hand samples, um, don't rely too much on that information right out of the gate because uh, it's just not enough of a sample size to truly have an accurate description of that opponent.
Mhm.
So if you sit down at a table and I'm opening and opening and opening, you might immediately want to start three betting me a little bit lighter or widening your range against me for that. When in fact I had aces, ace, king, and jack 10 suited,
Yep.
three hands in a row. So which can happen, right? So
Yeah.
and I might be a tight player. I just had premium hands. So
Yeah. Well, and actually you
jack 10 being the most premium of all of them.
it's a beautiful hand. So
Suited, obviously.
yeah, like when you if you sit down at a table and someone three bets you twice in the first level that you
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
you might feel like you need to like if they three bet you a third time, you might feel like you need to play back at them. And this might cause you to take a hand that's actually quite weak and get in there too much. And so it can really backfire on you. Because
This
it,
happens a lot to I mean, of every caliber player.
yeah. Well, and I think another example, me being on the other side of this, I had just mentioned earlier this episode how the second day one of the FPC main event, I registered like level 7 and I went from 30K to 100K really quickly.
People thought you were probably a maniac,
Yeah,
which he is.
well, I was showing down a lot, I was making a lot of good
Yeah.
hands and I bluffed maybe once or twice. Like, if someone made a comment on, how I was probably going to three bet again and I literally looked down at pocket
I love it when
jacks.
people think that, and then you have a strong hand, you're like, "Let's go for value."
Yeah, and he
Like,
just
that's what you
started
exploit.
laughing,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had a really good image, but I was getting, I was playing well, but I had a lot of good hands.
Well, right, and if you know how your opponents look at you, you can then start exploiting that, right?
Yeah, and so this is a good example of, for me in this situation, let's say if someone four bet me, I would like I would almost expect someone to play back at me more because of my aggression here. And so I would probably start three betting a narrower range
Yeah.
if I've been showing a lot of aggression.
Yeah, because, yeah, that makes 100% sense, yeah.
Yeah. It can go both ways because in this situation, I'd been winning all these pots, so people kind of somewhat wanted to stay out of my way, but also depending on the player, like there were one or two that I could tell were like, I gotta call this guy down.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you're the one being three bet a lot, consider the fact that the person three betting you probably is going to know that you're gonna get fed up with them.
Yeah.
And so they might actually the next time they three bet, it's maybe even more likely that they have a really strong
Yeah,
hand.
because they're aware of their image, especially like professional players, right? And they're just
Mhm.
drooling because they have aces this time and they
Yeah.
just three bet you. So the timing set up nicely. Let's discuss how we can combat this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want to start off by saying I think instead of just making automatic assumptions because you see a few aggressive plays or a few folds, like it goes both ways, right? So you see a person being extra tight, so you start three betting them more, or you see a person extra aggressive, so you start fighting back at them with weaker hands. Um, don't just start doing that. I think the best way to combat that is to wait until you see showdowns.
Yeah, that's a great
Yes,
point.
because then you're actually seeing what their range of hands looks like at this point. You know if, and you might they might bluff you here and they might bluff you there. But if you're not getting bluffed in a tournament, you're overplaying your hands.
Yeah, if you never get successfully bluffed, it probably means you're paying off way too many bets.
100%, yeah. So you have to be okay with getting bluffed and know that you're waiting for more accurate information to start basing your decisions off of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Showdown. Pay attention to showdown.
for sure, yeah. So, yeah, if you see them 4 bet, but then they get to showdown and they had ace king, you didn't really learn anything because that's just a
Yeah,
normal play
because
to
that
make.
yeah, exactly. So, but then you see that they 3 bet and they show up with 8, 10 of hearts or
Yeah.
queen 10 offsuit or jack, something I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, that they're they now have a different style than, a more aggressive style or more aggressive range, right?
Yeah, definitely. I will also say that, like, even the hands and this is where just studying stuff comes into play because it's like you kinda know, "Oh, I'm taking, like, the 10-8 suited, like, sometimes that's a decent 3 betting hand." And so if you know how you're supposed to respond to a 3 bet here according to, like, theory, if 10-8 suited is a hand that they're supposed to 3 bet sometimes, even if it's on the looser side, it doesn't necessarily mean you should, like, start 4 betting hands that
No, right, right.
yeah.
I agree with you 100% there. My point is just that you can start understanding what type of caliber player they are.
Yes, yeah.
You just know that they're not old man Withers who's just playing aces and ace king and all that other good
Yeah.
stuff. Or not, and maybe, and on the vice versa, that young aggressive punk who's just splashing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they
absolutely.
can correctly three bet ace 10 suited. Just be aware that, okay, and then watch how they play it, right? Like he knows what he's doing with ace A10 suited, whereas he's not just splashing with A10 suited.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and then also, if it's like a 9-4 suited, then it's like, "Oh, this person is a maniac, and I really should."
And I must say that 8-10 suited, specifically in our meetup games, is an absolute premium because I'm jamming 3-4 offsuit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we mentioned, but I called Max's 5-bet jam with jack 9 offsuit one time.
Incorrectly. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he had queen 7
How did the
suited.
action go on that? Let's just go on a little tangent here. So you open button.
You 3-bet small blind, I 4-bet, and you jammed, and I think the funniest part was it wasn't like I snap called.
This is a 25-50 cent ring game.
Yeah, and I think I called off like 150 bigs here. So, let's all just be clear. We were both playing really, really bad poker. This is not the
We were
strategy.
having fun.
We were
Yeah.
having fun. It was low stakes, and we were just,
Yeah.
messing around,
Yeah.
but
So I think I had queen 8 of diamonds.
queen 7 of
Queen
diamonds.
7 of
Yeah,
diamonds. You had jack 9-0.
yeah.
So he opens button to 2. I think I made
Oh,
it.
it was like 3.5,
Oh, you made it 3.5. I think I made it 5 or 6. I
6,
made it
yeah.
6.
I made it like
20.
12.
Or you made it.
Was it 20 or
I
something?
think you made it bigger this time. You
Okay.
made it like 22 or
Oh, that's
something.
why I was
And then
saying.
I just stuffed it in your face for 150 bigs. And then he didn't even snap call, guys. He thought about it.
I think that that's actually funnier because, like, sometimes you just get it in.
He leveled himself. He thought about it. He's like, I know Max is going to be jamming Jack 8 here.
I mean, you probably would have.
Yeah, I would have.
And then there's a 9 in the window, but you hit a queen.
But I leveled West because I knew that he thought I might have Jack 8, so I jammed Queen High to get the call from Jack High. And I think you were dead on the
Yeah.
turn. Yeah. Sweet.
No, because we both flopped a pair. I had 5 hearts, but
Oh, is that what it was?
yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, just for if there's anyone out there who's wondering,
Tangents.
this is not a real strategy discussion. we were just launching in the middle, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So come play our next meetup game if you wanna put dollars in your pocket. It's a great
Yeah.
place to do that.
Sweeps coins that can be redeemed for dollars.
There you go. There you
Yep.
go. Well put.
So,
Continue.
where were we? Oh, yeah, so we were talking about, yeah, like the 10-8 suiteds or whatever. Yeah, like just gauge where your opponent's at. Like, someone could 3-bet you twice in an orbit, and they could still be a really tight player. They could have just been dealt pocket kings and pocket queens. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And
they
exactly, yeah. So don't start making assumptions based on that small sample size. Pay attention to their showdowns. If they're showing, hands where they get to showdown and you look at the action that they got to showdown with, like the action throughout the entire hand, they're like, wow, they played that hand that way. Well, that doesn't really make sense. So
Mhm.
now I can maybe find exploits against this type of opponent
Yeah.
or a lot of different, but just pay attention to showdown. That's
Yeah, and pay attention to, stuff people say. I think in live tournaments, people
I thought you were gonna make a stupid joke there, but okay, yeah, yeah. Continue.
I'm curious what you thought I was gonna say.
I don't know. You just had a stupid look on your face. That's
Yeah, well, you're used to that if you
yeah.
ever look in the mirror, so
Oh shit. Yeah, I like it. Continue. Pay attention to what people say.
yeah, sometimes people will say stuff about how, calling a 4-bet all in with jacks is, like, really loose, and if someone thinks that's a really loose play, then suddenly you're like,
This is a great point. Yeah, I mean,
"Oh,
people will
they."
tell you how they think about poker, and if you're paying close enough attention, you can start, ranging them more appropriately by what they've said. And then you got to be careful because there are some people who will level you. They'll use some
Mhm.
reverse psychology in that sense, but mostly overall, you won't see that.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised at how honest people are.
They are, yeah,
Yeah,
like
not you, but I think no, oh, no, no, I'm saying, like, I don't think you'd be surprised, like, you
I thought you
obviously
said I wouldn't be honest.
you mostly would be too. You
Honestly, again, here
you
we go.
kind of are.
It's redundant, right? No, it's funny when you tell people the truth in a poker hand, they often think you're gonna be lying to them to throw them off. So, like, I'll
Mhm.
do that as a reverse psychology type of thing. Like, tell them, like, "I got a strong hand." When I actually have a strong hand, they'll be like, "Yeah." Anyways, my point is that they usually think the opposite of what you tell them.
Yeah,
Tangents.
yeah. But yeah, and this comes from experience too, but, like, and it's not like I someone will say something and suddenly I have a different pre-flop chart for them. It's not like
No,
that
no.
specific, but you can get sort of a vibe of how tight or loose someone's gonna be by how
Yeah.
they talk and act about poker.
Yeah.
So,
Wes says, someone says that 4 by getting in with jacks, and then Wes just no locks them immediately.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have ace king 62% of the time.
Yeah, we're gonna have this many combos of this hand. Yeah, okay, we call.
Yeah,
So,
actually probably fold against that player.
that yeah, unless you're nutted, right? So, what is anything else on that specific topic? I feel like we got kind of all over the place with that one.
We did, but that's okay. No, so the next one that we have is letting the money get to you, and this can make you go in either direction, right? Like, if you are too invested in
Are you talking about like overplaying your bankroll or winner's tilt here?
kind of both in a way.
Okay.
Like, if you let's start with overplaying your bankroll or being caring too much about the result of a specific tournament. If you are, let's say you're in a $500 tournament and that's kind of a big buy-in for you, you might find yourself falling into some of these traps we've talked about like overvaluing your stack, feeling the need to get back to starting, like really, really valuing that tournament life too much.
Mhm.
And or you might find yourself like being, let's say 20% of the field is left, so you're not like right on the bubble, and you just fold ace queen to an open because you really don't want to, like,
Yeah.
you really want to, if you get it all in, you want to really be sure it's a great spot.
Yep. Yeah.
um and yeah, it can just cause you to be too nitty, or
It
it
kinda yeah, and I mean, this kind of overlaps with overvaluing your tournament life in a
yeah.
sense, which is completely fine, but yeah, just, playing out your be aware that when you're playing out of your bankroll, that should not adjust the way you play.
Mhm. And on the flip side, you know, let's say you just had a good score or a couple good scores or a couple really good months of poker. It can be easy to, let's say you know, have been kind of breaking even or you're up or down $1,000 a month. Let's say you have a month where you make $12,000 and then another month where you make like 10, you know. Suddenly that can feel like you just had this huge breakthrough, and maybe you've gotten better at poker, maybe you haven't. But ultimately the your skill level is not correlated to
There's
that
not an
result.
yeah, you had a good patch of variance more likely than you just massively greatly increased your skill.
Exactly. And so even the best poker players have losing months, you know, losing streaks. So
Preach.
yeah. Oh God, absolutely. And so you know, keep in mind you will have those. And so, you know, let's say you've been playing, you know, 1, 2, 2, 5, no limit, and you've also played some like up to $250 tournaments or 300s. Don't suddenly just fire yourself into like a $2,000 buy-in tournament and start playing 10, 20 just because you have a few buy-ins. Because
This is
like, if,
kind of what we call winner's tilt.
yeah, this would be considered winner's tilt.
Yeah, so, you're having a breakthrough, you made a lot of money, and then all of a sudden you start playing outside your normalcy, so, and you'll quickly I mean, I don't care how good you are, you'll
Mhm.
edges in poker are not that significant, so where you're just gonna step up into the next stakes and just absolutely start slapping.
Yeah, it'll be tougher. And you know, maybe you can go from a 300 to a $400 or $500 tournament and kind of gauge how things are
I
then.
there is some, what's a good word for this? Uh, I can't think of the word right now, but for example, Breck Scutton.
Yeah, that's it. That yeah.
This man hits one score, starts playing the high roller scene, and then just absolutely crushes it.
He does, yeah, and I mean, he had a really sort of, I would say he's a bit of the exception to the rule, but also I would say, like, he does have another career, and
Mhm.
so
He might not worry about the money in those cases, and he's still able to play his A game because he has a great career outside of that.
yeah, and so you know, as far as bankroll, it's different for an actual full-time player versus someone who's just trying to be a winning player,
Yeah.
um, but even so, I would say, like, even if the money itself is not that big of a deal, you know, if you win like 25K over a 2-month stretch, it can feel like it can feel like you have momentum and you're gonna keep ascending, but that's not really like card distribution doesn't have momentum. Like, you could very easily just lose a bunch of buy-ins, and if you're doing it at high stakes, it can be much easier to lose back that money than it was to win it in the first place, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you just won 50 buy-ins and then you 5x your stakes, well, now you only need to lose 10 buy-ins to lose all of it
And
back,
that can
you
happen
know?
very quickly.
It
Like
can.
losing yeah, I mean, yeah, you can lose 10 tournaments in a row, no problem. I've done it a lot of times in a row.
Of course, it's just normal.
It's very normal, right? So, one other thing I wanna talk about on this topic is the opposite, is we were talking about playing outside of your bankroll, having, playing
Like,
tournaments too big for you, so you tighten up.
don't
Well
be a nit. Don't be
well
a bankroll nit.
well, don't no, the vice versa is playing stakes under your normal and then just
Mhm.
splashing around too much because
Yeah.
the number because the prize pool isn't worth your time, essentially, it seems like. You almost get that feeling
Yeah.
that, like, the prize pool isn't worth my time, so I'm just gonna splash and have fun,
Yeah,
where you should be playing it to the best you can.
mhm. Yeah, so it could be a sort of a thing where it's like, "Oh, well, this is, you know, I usually play 1100s and this is a 300, so, like, until I get to late on day 2, I don't even really care. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna try and
Splash,
gamble."
yeah, gamble, 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 right. And, yeah, you're gonna make less money than you would by playing optimally all the time.
I like how we say that, and we were just talking about how the hands we played in our meetup game.
Hey, this advice, take it with a
Do
grain of
as we
salt.
say,
Yeah,
not as we
yeah, do as we say, not as we
yeah,
do. Perfectly said. We're human as well, Wes, and
yeah.
we do have a degeneracy side to us. So
I would even give the caveat of, like, those those are not stakes we would play from a profitability you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the lowest stakes that I'll play are still, like, 4 times as high as
Well,
that.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
This dude's over here flexing his muscles.
well, I mean, I don't think that's
No, but
a
you're
surprising thing
no,
for
it's
people
not.
to
You're
hear.
you're being realistic. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. But yeah, you're right. I mean, do as we say, not as we do.
yeah. I would say
Don't go
that,
all in
like,
with 3-4 offsuit for 100 bigs in a 50-cent cash game.
yeah, or do
Or
if you're
do it.
against me.
Yeah, against West. I mean, if you want to make money, come to our home game, meetup game.
It is actually a pretty good spot to do that.
Not a ton of money, but it's all in good fun. Anyways,
No, I think that's a really good point, though, and I will give the caveat that, you and I both play a wide range of tournament buy-ins, but even when we're playing at our lowest stakes, we're still trying hard
to win,
from
yeah.
from the first hand we're playing.
Because what matters to me is winning the tournament, and I know that winning the tournament requires discipline.
Yep.
At all times.
Yeah.
So you have to really, and it took me a long time to get through that phase because I'm definitely guilty of it. Playing smaller buy-ins, splashing around, specifically like pre-COVID on ACR. Like
Oh, yeah.
I would just play these massive field low buy-in tournaments where you could just rebuy and I would just splash, 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 splash. It just didn't work out for me. So
It can be easy to get into that, especially online if it's like, oh, $33, who cares? Like, I'm
yeah.
just gonna.
So one thing I love about global poker is and clubs don't listen to this is that the freeze out formats.
Mhm.
They that the pure form of poker, or one rebuy or two at most, right? It forces you to to
To
play
treat it like a
to
real
treat it like
tournament,
a
yeah.
real tournament. Whereas rebuys, you just keep splashing until you build up a stack and you play from there. You can see that a ton. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Um, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. It's kind of similar to this, but it's from my perspective as a full-time player, and I think it applies
Is
to.
this for the same mindset trap? Or no?
It's very similar.
Mhm.
Um, there's let's say you're trying to make a certain amount of money per month from poker. Let's say, you know, we'll say like $5,000 or whatever. You don't want to fall into the trap of like thinking that you should be hitting that exact amount every month, because it can work both ways. One, let's say you start off the month poorly. Now you can kind of feel like you really need to overdo it and like gamble to get it back, and just know that sometimes you're going to have months where it doesn't go as well, and you're going to fall short of that.
And if you think you're gonna meet those goals every single month, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening. You're gonna emotions will arise because you're not gonna meet that. And then if you don't understand that ahead of time, uh, you're gonna wonder what the heck's going on, right?
Yeah.
But it's normal for even the best in the world to experience variance like that. Again, it's because the gap in skill, while there is a gap, it's not wide enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's tons of variance
Yeah.
even. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, and this might be more of a thing for cash game players because there's less variant. In a cash game setting, you can kind of have a bit more of an hourly with a lot of variance. But let's say it's a week and a half into the month and you've already made 5K. Now it can feel like you can let up a bit.
Yeah.
And you don't want that either, because as we just said, there are going to be months where you fall short, which means to actually hit your goal of averaging 5K a month, you need the months where you make a lot more too. And
Mhm.
so if you are looking to play this game professionally, have like a set schedule, or at least a rough idea of how much you're just going to play, and don't shift that too much based on how things are going so far. Because if you're like, oh, I just got to 6K this month, like, yeah, I'll play a couple more times, but I'm good, I can wait till next month. Like, that's just like an arbitrary. You're just taking a bunch of time off for what?
Yeah.
If you end up doing that, you're going to end up averaging a lot less than that 5K per
Yeah.
month.
I mean, unless you're doing it for the reason of like emotionally stabilizing or taking a break to clear your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
okay to take breaks, but if you're doing it for that reason, if you feel like you're going to be playing suboptimally unless you take a break, right? So just keep
Mhm.
that stuff into mind. Is there any other mindset traps that we've missed on the list? Is that the last one?
That's about it. There's something that popped into my head, but it was not.
Yeah, mindset trap, the final one. Don't be friends with Wes.
Oh my god.
I don't know where I was gonna take that one. I just wanted to burn you to end this episode. So,
Wow.
um, with that, we'll go ahead and start wrapping up. Congrats on winning the dinner from me.
Yeah.
$100 gift card. No, not $100 gift card.
$100 dinner,
$100 dinner. I
something.
owe you. Um, excuse me. You can redeem that whenever you would like, my friend. As for us playing poker coming up, kind of bummed. MSPT typically has their fall or their winter poker classic at Running Aces to end the year with a nice 500K guaranteed, main event. Unfortunately, Running Aces is under construction, so they moved the whole shebang off to like Ohio or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I'm going to skip that. I may end up going to Vegas for the WPT Prime Championship.
I may too, yeah, we haven't
So
made
that's
plans
in the
for that
works.
yet.
That's a discussion we'll have. But before that, this weekend, you're going to be taking this weekend off. Doing the right thing, hanging out with friends.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm playing online on Sunday the whole day, but
Yeah, well,
Saturday I got some
good
plans,
for
so,
you. Good for
yeah.
you. But this weekend, I will be heading to Riverside, Iowa, to play the MSPT there with a good
Mhm.
friend, Dave Gagne. He actually just won MSPT Grand Falls maybe a couple months ago, a month or two ago.
August probably.
Good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And a listener of the podcast. So him and I are going to cruise out there, play some golf, finish the year out with some golf, play some poker. I feel like I'm just going to get my second MSPT title this weekend. So we'll talk about the hand that led me to that glorious victory next week.
Yeah. If, yeah. If you do, then we will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will.
Then we know what the topic
No,
will
we
be.
will because I will.
You know what we're also gonna talk about next week?
Your 30th birthday?
Yeah.
I-
The episode that comes out next week will come out on my 30th birthday,
yeah,
so
that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to getting absolutely hammered with you next week. Well,
yeah, it'll be fun. Not during the episode, but
we
later.
could.
We
Let's
could.
let's have a
We could
drunk
try it.
episode. People will be like, "What is wrong with these guys?"
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead and finish it up here, guys. Hope you have a wonderful morning, night, day, noon, sleep, bath time, whatever you do, whenever you're listening to
Does
this.
anyone listen to us in the bath? I wonder.
Maybe. Anyways, probably mostly in the car, I'd guess.
I think a lot in the car.
Yeah. That's when I listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next week.